Welcome to the Growth Mindset Book Podcast, Mindset Mastery chapter by chapter. I'm Michael Fox, best-selling author and expert mindset coach, and your guide on this transformative journey. Here, we don't just skim pages of the most powerful self-help and mindset books ever written. We dive deep, sometimes just a few paragraphs at a time, to truly understand and apply their life-changing principles. Each episode builds on the last, so if this is your first time here, I encourage you to start episode 1 of season 1 and follow along as we explore every corner of these timeless works. Together, we'll study, reflect, and unlock the tools you need to master your mindset, overcome limiting beliefs, and create the life you've always imagined. So grab your book, a notebook, or just a favorite drink, and let's dive into today's insights. Your journey to transformation starts now. Welcome back. We are on podcast episode 6, and I'm so glad to be getting all of your feedback, all of your comments. We are adding it to the show. We are making changes so that it just keeps getting better and better. So if you have comments or if you have questions, if you're on YouTube, just click below and you can enter in a comment. And when you enter in the comment, we will respond to your comment or question or feedback. And if you're listening on an actual podcast, you can send an email to M as in Mike, Fox, F-O-X, at michaelfoxcoach.com. That's M Fox at michaelfoxcoach.com, and we will be sure to incorporate this into the show. I just want to give a shout out to 3 people who supported the show by buying us a cup of coffee, and that is David Fox, Yvette, and Chuck D. Thank you all for supporting the show. I appreciate you. And if you do support the show, I will definitely give you a shout out here as well. That said, we are on chapter 2 on page 27. So let's jump in and we will continue from there. It is the seat of your emotion and the storehouse of memory. Your subjective mind performs its highest functions when your objective senses are in abeyance. What does that mean? When your objective mind or objective senses are quiet. In other words, we don't have the TV on in the background coming through our senses. We're not listening to the radio. We're not scrolling on social media. When we're doing that, our senses are at high alert, and we need those to be quiet for a subjective mind to work at its best. But it's really important that when we're working with our subconscious mind, that we really quiet our senses down. Again, we can do that through breathing. Take 10 deep breaths and focus in on the breathing in and out. That will quiet your mind. Go for a walk. Do something where your mind is quiet and you can quiet that chatter down. And then we can start affirming. And when we do the affirmations and asking for what we want, back to the book. In a word, it is that intelligence which makes itself manifest when the objective mind is suspended or in a sleepy, drowsy state. Commentary. The best time to affirm is right before you go to bed or right when you wake up in the morning. Why? Because our conscious mind hasn't started. It hasn't started with all the thoughts. What am I going to do today? What's going to happen? Oh my God, I got to prepare for that meeting. It's quiet. It's peaceful. And making requests, saying prayers, asking for the things that we want at that moment, right before we go to sleep or right when we wake up in the morning, is the best time to access the subconscious mind. Let's go back to the book. Your subjective mind sees without the use of natural organs or vision. It has the capacity of clairvoyance or clairaudience. Your subjective mind can leave your body, travel to distant lands, and bring back information oftentimes of the most exact and truthful character. Now, let's talk about this. Let me give 2 examples of what it's trying to say here. Have you ever heard of a story of a mother or a father or someone waking up in the middle of the night with this intense feeling of worry that something's happened to their child, only for them to get on the phone and call and find out that their child has actually been in an accident? This is how our subconscious mind works. It's working in the background and it's picking up these things from the ether from a higher frequency than we're actually on, thus communicating with that mother that there's something wrong, waking her up from her sleep and getting her to actually call her child and find out that actually something was wrong. How about another example? I'm going to share this story, and I haven't really shared this with too many people, but I'm going to open up and be vulnerable and share it. Years ago, my grandfather was alive. He was 93 years old, and all of my other grandparents had passed away. And one night I went to sleep, and I had the most incredible dream. It was so realistic. I saw my grandfather, who I really loved, who I actually named my son after, and I saw my grandmother. And when I saw them, I had this incredible feeling inside, and I gave them a hug. And I even remember feeling my grandfather's stubble on my face against his face. And I was so excited and so happy to see them. And we just connected there for a little bit. And then my grandfather had a message for me. And he said the following. He said, "We're going to be coming to take your grandfather very soon." And I said, "Well, why are you going to take him?" And he said, "It's because it's his time." 2 days later, I got a phone call, and I was told that my grandfather passed away in his sleep. Now, that was not like any dream I've ever had before. That was the most real communication, as if I was actually in the room with my grandparents. It felt unbelievably realistic. So our subconscious has this way of communicating on frequencies when we're sleepy, when we're tired, when we're sleeping, when we're in that state of quietness, beyond anything that we might experience in our normal daily life. Let's go back to the book. Through your subjective mind, or your subconscious mind, you can read the thoughts of others. You can read the contents of sealed envelopes and closed safes. Your subjective mind has the ability to apprehend the thoughts of others without the use of ordinary objective means of communication. Now, at first glance, that may seem a little bit intimidating to think that, does our subjective mind really have these powers? Is that even a possibility? And the answer is yes. It is absolutely a possibility. Let's use the simplest of examples. I decide that I'm going to call my friend Matt. And I'm thinking about him and I'm thinking about him. And then all of a sudden, my phone rings. I pick up the phone and it's Matt. And I haven't spoken to Matt in over 2 years. Now, you could say that is a coincidence. But in this book and in this line that it's talking about, it is saying that we have the ability through our thoughts to communicate with other people. And they can pick it up if we're on the same frequency or the same vibration. If we're feeling kind of the same way, we can pick up the thoughts of other people. And that's the perfect and most simple example that probably most people listening would have experienced at some point in their life. It's interesting. I heard Joe Rogan recently talk about another podcast that he had recommended called The Telepathic Tapes. And so I started listening to that and was really blown away, and I would recommend it to anyone listening to this. You might want to listen to that as well. But essentially what it's about is it's about autistic individuals who don't have the ability to speak and who communicate telepathically. And I thought when I first heard that, that sounds insane, until I started listening to the woman who runs the show, who is very scientific in her approach. And then she's actually interviewing the parents and the kids, and they're testing out to see whether or not they really are communicating telepathically. And what I saw in just a little bit of listening was they were sitting with the mother, and the child was in the other room with a blindfold on, and they were showing randomly generated numbers from their phone to the mother. And the child, through pointing out on numbers on a piece of paper, was able to easily communicate the numbers, not once, not twice, every single time. There was not a time where it was randomly generated that they weren't able to do it. And there's so many more examples on that show of this type of communication. We sometimes think that these children or even adults that are dealing with this that can't speak are not very intelligent. They're way more intelligent than we are when you listen to them communicate through letters on boards of what they're actually experiencing in their mind, and how they can hear not only the thoughts of their parents, but of other people that are miles away. And then when that child is called that is miles away, they're able to tell exactly what it is that that child just said, clearly showing that this communication is possible. So I know that on the surface, it can seem at times like this, what they're saying here might seem a little bit crazy, but using a scientific approach, she was able to clearly show in another example how this actually works. So we have this incredible power within us, and we have this incredible power to pick up energy and thoughts from other people. Have you ever sat and you're sitting there and you get this weird feeling and you turn around and someone's staring at you? How in the world did you pick that up? Well, that's energy and that's transference. That's being picked up by your subconscious mind, which is way more powerful than anything else that we have inside of us. Okay, makes sense? Let's go back to the book. It is of the greatest importance that we understand the interaction of the objective and subjective mind, or the conscious and subconscious mind, in order to learn the true art of prayer. The subconscious cannot reason like your conscious mind. Let me pause for 1 second. We've said this many times before. The subconscious mind is like the garden. When we're planting the seed in the garden, the only thing that the soil can do is accept the seed. That's how our subconscious mind works with the thoughts that we have in our head. Back to the book. Your subconscious mind cannot argue controversially. Hence, if you give it wrong suggestions, it will accept them as true and will proceed to bring them to pass as conditions, experiences, and events. All things that happen to you are based on the thoughts impressed on your subconscious mind through belief. Let's break this down. Your subconscious mind cannot argue. It will accept whatever it is given as true. Think of yourself for a moment, and I want you to go back to your childhood, and I want you to think about what were some of the things that you heard about money. Maybe money doesn't grow on trees. We're not the Rockefellers. We don't have that kind of money. You got to work extremely hard to make money. Think of things you may have heard, or perhaps your parents didn't really talk that much about money. And maybe that gave you an indication of your own interpretation of what their lack of communication meant. Maybe it meant, boy, they don't like talking about money. It's sort of a little bit taboo. The bottom line is the subconscious mind will accept whatever you've heard over and over as the truth, even though, again, that's not what you chose to believe. That's what you heard and accepted as the truth. So we really have to question often these things that are going into our mind, these beliefs that we have inside. these thoughts that we think over and over, are they really true? Or is it possible that that was a suggestion that I accepted as the truth? How about two patients that have cancer? They have the same type of cancer, they have the same diagnosis. One thinks to themselves consistently, I'm never going to make it through this. I'm never going to survive. Their survival rate is 45%. I'm not going to make it. What do you think will happen to the person that thinks that way? Well, their subconscious mind will go into action and it will accept what they're saying. And there's a very good likelihood that they're not going to make it. How about the other person who says, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to the other side? In fact, I'm going to look outside of the traditional medicine and I'm going to look at what things can I do differently in my life. Maybe if I eat differently, maybe if I'm in a different environment, maybe if I reduce my stress, maybe if I laugh, I will actually get past this. And then they do. A great example, Les Brown, personal development speaker. Probably most of you know who he is. A true story about him is he was diagnosed with cancer. And instead of taking the traditional route, he thought to himself, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend my time laughing and feeling really good. So he spent at the minimum 2 hours a day laughing over and over and over. And to this day, he still does that. He laughs for a 2-hour period. Do you know that without any traditional treatment, through the power of laughter and spending that much time feeling good, feeling really good, the cancer in his body completely disappeared? So the important statement in the book here is, it says all things that happen to you are based on thoughts impressed on your subconscious mind. So the thought impressed on your subconscious mind may be, I'm going to survive this. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to get myself feeling good consistently, and my body is going to heal itself. But it says you have to have these thoughts impressed through belief. And this is the key. If you're someone that's listening and says, this stuff never works, this is a bunch of BS, guess what? You are going to be absolutely correct. It is going to be a bunch of BS. And in your experience and in your life, it's not going to work. But here's the thing. Why does it work for other people who do have a belief and do say this is going to work? Another example. How about the placebo effect? I'll give you a great example of an actual thing that has happened. There were a group of people. They all needed knee surgery. They decided they were going to run a placebo test on a group of the people that were supposed to have the surgery. So what they did was they made incisions in a few of the people and they did the surgery on the other people. The people that they just made incisions on, again, they didn't perform the actual surgery. However, after the doctor came in and said, you did amazing, everything looks really great, they went on to actually heal and be okay and be able to walk without ever having to get that surgery. That's amazing if you think about it. But that's the power of our subconscious mind. Whatever we believe to be the case will happen. I'm willing to bet that if you went into a group of people that were terminally ill, had an illness that they didn't think they could heal from, and if a doctor came in and said to that group of people, you're not going to believe this, we have this incredible pill, it was just developed, it is actually going to heal you. My bet is that some of those people that would take that pill would actually heal from that occurrence. It's all because our subconscious mind will deliver based on our belief, based on our thoughts. Making sense to everyone? Great. Let's move on. Back to the book. If you've conveyed erroneous concepts to your subconscious mind, the sure method of overcoming them is by the repetition of constructive, harmonious thoughts, frequently repeated, which your subconscious mind accepts, thus forming new and healthy habits of thought and life. For your subconscious mind is the seat of habit. What does that mean? Let's talk about this for a moment. Let's go line by line here. If you've thought about something that isn't true, money is super hard to make. Money doesn't grow on trees. And that erroneously was given to your subconscious mind over and over, then the way to overcome that is by repeating in a constructive, harmonious, new, frequently repeated way that money comes to me easily and effortlessly. There are opportunities coming to me. I am being open and aware, and I know and I believe that money, ideas to make money, ideas to generate money are going to come to me easily and effortlessly. And if we believe that and say it enough, and the belief can come from just the repetition alone. If I repeat something over and over and over and over again, eventually I'm going to believe it to be the truth. And once I believe it to be the truth, the subconscious mind will go into action and it will bring you in front of people. It will give you ideas for your business. Maybe there's a new product, a new idea that you'll be able to implement. Again, all because these new ideas are generated. You're brought in front of people that are going to help you in some way. You're just brought into these opportunities, but they will never come if you don't believe that they're going to come. You have to have an open mind and a willingness to repeat to yourself what you want in your life as if it's already here in present tense. Let's go back to the book, and these next two paragraphs that I'm going to read are extremely important. And don't worry, we're going to break them down. But let's go back to the book. Here it is. The habitual thinking of your conscious mind establishes deep grooves in your subconscious mind. This is very favorable for you if your habitual thoughts are harmonious, peaceful, and constructive. However, if you've indulged in fear, worry, or other destructive forms of thinking, the remedy is to recognize that there's a much larger power, the omnipotence of your subconscious mind, and decree freedom, happiness, and perfect health. Your subconscious mind, being creative and one with the divine source, will proceed to create freedom and happiness, which you have earnestly decreed. Hey there. I hope you're loving today's episode of the Growth Mindset Book Podcast. If this show has been inspiring you or bringing value to your life, I'd love your support to keep it going strong. You can buy me a cup of coffee at buymeacoffee.com/MichaelFoxCoach. Again, that's buymeacoffee.com/MichaelFoxCoach. Your support helps cover production costs and lets me keep sharing this incredible journey with you. Thanks for being a part of the community. And now let's get back to the episode. What does this mean in plain English? It means this. If I think to myself over and over, I am a good public speaker, and I believe it, and I say it over and over and over and over, and I've said that for years to myself, the odds are that I'm a good public speaker and I feel very comfortable speaking because in my brain, think of your brain like a record, and you have a groove in the record. And when you put the needle on the record, it plays because there's a groove there and you hear the music. You have a deep groove, so that groove is there. And every time you're thinking about speaking in front of a group, the groove's built in and says, yeah, you're a great speaker. You take the opportunity. You're going to do amazing. However, if we've indulged in a different kind of thinking out of fear, worry, or destructive thinking, that groove is just as deep, but it's giving us bad thoughts. For example, I can't do this. I'm not having that conversation. I'm afraid. Forget about it. And here's the thing. Even if we have these deep grooves in the record, what we can do is we can decide I am going to use repetition to create a new groove in the record. And so we start repeating what we do on. I'm an amazing speaker. I can do anything that I want. I get up in front of groups and they hear me easily and effortlessly. And I repeat that over and over and over. What happens is that groove in my record starts to form. Initially, it's not very deep, but as I keep saying it over and over, it will get deeper and deeper. And then all of a sudden, we have now created a new groove in the record. Now, we can't just say it. We have to keep saying it over and over, and then we've got to go do it. We go speak in front of 2 or 3 people, and then 10, and then 15, and then 50, right? But we're creating that groove by saying it and then doing it, saying it and doing it. Because if we don't, what will happen is I'll say, I'm going to go speak in front of people. And then that old groove, that negative groove will play and it'll say, no, you can't. You're not going to do this. You're going to do terrible. And then you'll get up and you'll struggle to speak in front of the group. Does that make sense? So we have a bunch of these grooves already in place, and that's fine. It's not a bad or a good thing. It's just information. And we have to use the repetition of newly formed thoughts to break through the old barriers and the old grooves. Make sense? Great. Let's go back to the book. The Tremendous Power of Suggestion. You must realize by now that your conscious mind is the watchman at the gate, and its chief function is to protect your subconscious mind from false impressions. You are now aware of one of the basic laws of the mind. Let's pause here for a second. This is super important. We have this ability to not allow anything coming in from the outside world. Someone says, that's going to be hard to make money doing that. I do not have to listen to that person, and I don't have to let it into my subconscious mind. I can reject it by saying reject and not allowing it in. I have that power. You have that power. We have that power. And if we use it, then we actually have a firewall in place to protect us against outside intruders. However, if we don't have that firewall in place, whatever is being said by other people, whatever we're watching on television, whatever we're hearing on the news is all going to go right into the subconscious mind, and it's going to form false impressions. It's going to form impressions that may not be true. Again, we have the power, but most of us don't use it. So we want to start becoming aware of what's going on outside, blocking it from coming in, and using that power to our advantage. Okay, let's go back to the book. You are now aware of the basic laws of the mind. Your subconscious mind is amenable to suggestion. As you know, your subconscious mind does not make comparisons or contrasts. Neither does it reason and think things out for itself. The latter function belongs to your conscious mind. Pause for a second. The only thing that happens, the only time we're actually reasoning or thinking is when we're in our conscious mind. And so that's the only thing that can affect us negatively, because if we're thinking negative thoughts consistently, that's what we're putting into our subconscious mind. Back to the book. It simply reacts to the impressions given to your conscious mind. It does not show a preference for one course of action over another. Pause for a second. What that means is no matter what information we are giving to our subconscious mind, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's indifferent, whatever we're putting in there will be accepted as true. So why not use this power to our advantage and place in our mind, in our subconscious mind, whatever it is that we truly want said in the present tense? Here's an example if we go back to the book. The following is a classic example of the tremendous power of suggestion. Suppose you approach a timid-looking passenger on board of a ship and say to him something like this: "You look very ill. How pale you are. I feel certain you are going to be seasick. Let me help you to your cabin. The passenger turns pale. Your suggestion of seasickness associates itself with his own fears and forebodings. He accepts your aid down to the berth, to the cabin, and there, your negative suggestion, which was accepted by him, is realized. This is the perfect example. Commentary. Has anyone ever come up to you and said that to you? You don't really look so good. Are you feeling okay? If you start buying into what they say, you will immediately start to get yourself not feeling well. In the book Think and Grow Rich, there was a great example that was used. There was some kind of, I think it was a baseball game, and they made an announcement over this speaker system that there was some kind of bad food. There was something that was bad and making people ill, and they were just giving them notice. All of a sudden, all these people started getting sick in the crowd because they heard it and they had it. Meanwhile, they were feeling good just moments before, but when that suggestion was made, they started to feel sick. And then they realized that wasn't the case. It wasn't that in the food that was making people ill. And they made another announcement. And then suddenly the people that were starting to feel sick stopped feeling sick. And the people that were getting sick also stopped getting sick. So there is a super suggestive ability of our subconscious mind. And when it believes something to be true, it goes to work and the rest takes care of itself. We're going to pause on that note. We're going to stop here. And remember, if you have any questions or comments, one of two ways to reach us. One, if you're on the YouTube video and you're watching, just put it in the comments below, your questions or comments. Number two, send an email to M as in Mike, Fox, F-O-X, at michaelfoxcoach.com. And I will be sure to absolutely read any email that comes in. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next show. I hope today's episode inspired you to take one step closer to mastering your mindset. If you're ready to dive deeper, visit michaelfoxcoach.com. Again, that's michaelfoxcoach.com for more resources, insights, and ways to connect. While you're there, don't forget to join our free community shown at the bottom of the website and connect with others who are on the same growth journey. Let's keep growing together, and I'll see you on the next episode.